Well, this is what happens when you get too comfortable in your surroundings. When you have a when you're a part of a radio syndication and you are doing a show, sometimes people get very comfortable. They get very comfortable to the point where they just start talking, and then you don't have the right people around to tell you when things are over the line or just flat out and just unacceptable to be on the air. Now, there are certain allowances they pay, to certain, whether they're entertainers or they give them certain leeway. But when you're on the air, it's not normally designed by race, but people have their target audience in which they, people who would listen to them would listen to. Like conservative people want to listen to people who speak mostly favorable to what conservative people would listen to. Liberal people normally listening to stations that normally liberal people would listen to. Right? So when you listen to certain aspects of radio, you would think in general that people would do the right thing. And then you got this guy known as the Buffalo Bull, right? The Morning Bull Radio Show. White guy named Rob, what's his name? Letterman. Seemed to always be a Letterman or something in there, right? But he gets a show, right? Anyhow, they always get them a show. He has his show. He's the host of this show. This is a morning show, radio syndication in Buffalo. And the topic is about black women. Like, would you be comfortable dating a black woman? Like, who? Normally, when you have somebody who is the executive producer of the show, who's the EP rather, or somebody who's running this show, these things and topics would have to be approved across the board to be acceptable to be on the show, even when the host is this show and everything else. Like Howard Stern came in and changed radio to the point where people had to start putting in some restrictions. Here in Chicago, we had the Man Cow morning show. Man Cow was borderline on that point. Then you had certain radio hosts who deliberately got in trouble with the FCC just to get that attention and draw up some fame and publicity. They would do something that was way entirely over the line. When Howard Stern did the whole Selena thing and had the gunshots playing in the middle of her song, which was very inappropriate. Like, how did you not know that that would be taken the wrong way? He came out and apologized in Spanish to the people and everything else, but it did what he intended it to do. Drew so much attention and ratings to the show. And every day you get a hack that tries to do this, to try to build themselves up and use this method. And countless times, this has been the story of radio, which is basically now all but dead. People have streaming now with services. No one really listens to the radio anymore. But there's some people that listen to talk radio. It's a few. And for those few, I guess people are very laxed in certain areas. So I would be more concerned about the people who are in charge of these radio stations and who allowed something like this to happen. Because wherever they were, they had to be very comfortable in the idea that they could sit there and talk about what type of black woman would they date. White people. What type would you be acceptable with as far as skin tone? There's white people that's afraid to even mention the word black in anything that they do, let alone to feel comfortable to have this conversation over the air. So that's letting you know, if they're having this conversation over the air and they're very comfortable with it, with this conversation, or has this conversation been going on in their homes? And is this the conversation that the majority of the people like them are having in their homes about us? Is about the actual tone? Now, well, we don't do that with white people.
Like 2 o'clock.
We don't do that with white people. You know, our thing is we don't sit back and go, well, I don't know, they're Irish, Scotland, or he's from Scotland, so I don't know, he's Scotland white. And we don't do that. You white, you white. That's it. We don't have time to put them in groups. Oh, he's Polish dude, man, you know. Gotta separate him, he's Polish. Nobody puts them. Brothers don't have time to be trying to organize and put them in groups. But apparently, some people here do. Let's hear the radio station and see what they say.
See, we have ours, and I'm going to get into trouble for this.
2 o'clock.
I have them to the attractiveness of women that I find to be attractive. So I will never go to a Serena Williams level, but I'm very comfortable with, like, I'm very comfortable at a Halle Berry level.
Okay.
I need a little bit of mulatto still coming through. It can't be,
Not like, is Gail King not, that's not your realm?
No, Gail King is not even on my toaster level.
I might get in trouble for this. Yeah, you might.
So, yep, that's exactly. I might get in trouble for this. That's it. Right away. Of course, he was fired, right? But when you say I might get in trouble for this, and then to suggest talking about Gail King is not on my toaster level, that just goes to show you that the colorism is on their side. And they really implement that and program that into our brains. The majority of them has always felt like this. This has been going on through the periods of time where the lighter skinned blacks were more favored than the dark skinned blacks. They created the favoritism. They the one who tried to put the mulattoes on a pedestal. The darker your skin is, the more worse off you are to them. And then they bring that infliction and program into us. They have us believing our own people, the darker they are, the worse they are. It's silly and foolish. But this is where we at. And Halle Berry had to come out and make a statement after hearing her name used in something so ridiculous. And she's just like, all women, all black women of color are beautiful, no matter what color they are. So the radio host was fired. And she told him, get the F up out of here. And she named him. You know, like, this is probably what he wants, but the radio station had to fire him. There was no way he could continue to hold a job after saying something like that over the air. He issued an apology saying, oh my God, I went back and listened to it and I could see how people could take that take it the wrong way. There was only one way to take it. Talking about he 100% apologized, 100%. I mean, was there ever a percentage that wasn't your fault? It's your show. You made the comment saying I might get in trouble for this. I might get in trouble for this. Yeah. Now you in really big trouble. But you know what? He's gonna get hired again. He's gonna get another show. He just drove the ratings up for this morning bull show. He got Halle Berry to talk about him. Hell, that studio might hire him back after suspension and a review. He might get his damn job back. Remember, it was like 3 of them there. All 3 didn't get fired. And they all seemed pretty comfortable. Not one person there told him he was over the line. All of them seemed pretty comfortable making these allegations and statements. Remember, do your homework. Find out. This was part of an idea to eliminate and make a new race of black, the mulattoes, eliminating the darker skinned blacks. Remember, this was all the lost generation. Look into that. Go see what happened. The kids of Australia, what they were doing with the Aborigines, pillaging, grabbing them, the workers, taking advantage of them. All the drivers over there. A driver is somebody who goes out and steers the herds and get them all together. Cattle and all these different things. And anyway, these guys would go and take advantage of the women. They would have the babies, and then they would come and take the babies from them while they were young, put them all with these other kids, youth kids, and they would be on a separate island being taught how to be Catholic, the Catholic religion. Then they would put them on boats and ship them out to new lands. This is part where the Holy Crusades were taking place. And basically continuing that process. It's happened in different areas. But these children were called the lost generation because they were lost. So hopefully that history lesson, a little small piece of it, just gives you an example of why the favoritism was put in place. You know? Oh yeah, and Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank always get this thing confused a little bit. Like he thinks like there was no black people in Africa. I mean light skinned people in Africa. And that's not what I was saying. We were having this conversation, I think it was about a month ago. I think he got it confused when he was saying something. But what I was saying that in Egypt, light skinned blacks weren't allowed in Egypt. They couldn't even pass through. Now Egypt was entirely different. Imagine like England, the royal palace. There wasn't any type of interactions. They used to call them Edomites at the time. And they stayed in a group together. Light skinned blacks did not blend in with the Caucasians. They did not blend in with the other Egyptians who were dark skinned, who also looked down upon them. They were all in their own group. And when they were driven out of their area, they had to come there for passage. And to make a deal with the royal whatever, they were allowed in Egypt to work. But they were not to blend in with us. But of course, you let a whole bunch of red bones in there. What was gonna happen? People started taking advantage of the women. To one, he actually was married within the royal family. The women who were dark skinned were jealous of their long hair. Some were beaten and they sleep to death. It was brutal times. But they saw them. Aborigines used to, if they saw even a child that was light skinned, they would be attacked by dark skinned people and harmed and mortally taken out. So they would hide the children because of that fear of what would happen to them. Because the Aborigines saw it, the Egyptians saw it as this is our replacement. If we let this happen, they're going to replace us with them. They saw it as that. They saw the plan and they went to execute it and try to stop it immediately. Which is why they were starting to wipe out the Aborigines and drive them further away into the mountains and the woods. History is brutal. It is not pretty. Nothing is pretty about history. So you watch these stories on the History Channel, they're only trying to give you the highlights of what happened in world history. It is ugly and brutal. And light-skinned blacks, dark-skinned blacks have all been exploited. Hispanics have been exploited. The Chinese have been exploited. The Asian American community has been exploited. Everyone has been exploited except for the Caucasians. Let that sink in. All right. One Crack News, we out. Thank you for your time. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm out of here.